Chapter 25. Hope you're having a good day. I'm going to do things a little differently. Instead of flipping through every slide, I've cut it down to 25. And so I'm going to look at those 25. I may have a comment. I've probably got something typed into it or added to. Maybe I've, changed the title or given a subtitle to a title or added information. We'll just see how as we go through. But I won't be looking at every slide. All right. Now, here we got famous picture of one of the Little Rock Nine going to Central High School, September of 1957. Now, in the 50-year anniversary at the celebration, they brought these two women together. Of course, the black woman there, and then the one that's screaming at her. And, I mean, all the hugs and apologies and tears that you would expect. Now, the woman that's got the scowl on her face holding the little pocketbook, I swear to goodness I used to teach with that woman, but it can't be because of the age thing, but I promise you that's her doppelheimer. You see the military, top left. We got two good looks. Dude in the white shirt with the dark collar right over here on the right side. He just looks like he's out having him a big time. Baby boom generation. Your instructor's one of the younger of the baby boomers. Slick Willie there, our first baby boomer president. Statistics reveal that the baby boom started a little bit before 1946, but we kind of would just rather start it there. That way it sounds better, we can say that when the soldiers got back from war, blah, blah, blah. Securing the New Deal legacy. In other words, liberals keeping the conservatives from undoing what they just accomplished. Sound familiar? Labor movement, your book points out, is peaking at the end of WW2. So we witnessed from peaking to a very quick loss of momentum. To public opinion, knowing that the labor movement is experiencing unprecedented success, and then, to kind of hear the complaining, that didn't sit too well, and public opinion is so crucial on something like this. And labor has learned it in the past with Grover Cleveland, but a labor strike cannot interfere with the president doing his job. I mean, Grover intervened back in his days in the Gilded Age. You can't shut down the railroad. You learned it when I was in college. Ronald Reagan, with the air traffic controllers, he said, you can't shut down the airports. I need those airports. And you better get your butt back to work, or I'm going to fire every daggum one of you. Well, he can't fire all of us. Well, he did. And government intervening apparently against labor, but, instead of me and you looking at it as something personal against labor, you can't interfere with the president enforcing the law. That's just all there is to it. And then you've got this devastating Taft-Hartley Act, 1947, I've changed the title here, A Big Blow to the Labor Movement. Fair deal. Back at the turn of the century, you got Teddy Roosevelt, Square Deal. Then we had, during the Depression, Franklin Roosevelt with the New Deal. Now you got, during the 1950s, Harry S. Truman, a fair deal. Military-industrial complex. Eisenhower drives this point home in one of the greatest, if not the greatest, farewell address ever given by a president. It was an awesome speech. And he introduces this idea of unintended consequences because of out of what we've created, which is this military industrial complex between the government and industry as related to its military output. So, just quickly, my favorite example of which he was referring to was research. You know, research has always come out of mostly universities and, you know, some private, of course. Edison's Menlo Park could be considered in all this too, but you know, professors at universities doing research, that's you know, common as the day is long, coming from their curiosity or their investigative you know, inquiry. Eisenhower's afraid now that all the money will be for research for the military-industrial complex, and, you know, the replacement of that individual ingenuity in research. But anyway, let's move on. The 50s has always been known as the Happy Days. Not just a TV show, but that is where the title of the TV show comes from, of course. Characterized by a move to the suburbs enabled by the proliferation of automobiles, Levittowns came to symbolize a part of suburbia, the cookie cutter factor of suburbs. They're both right, aren't they? Can't both of these guys be right? Aren't both of these guys right? Now, I guess automobile, how it revolutionizes society, could be up here under teen culture, but it deserves its own category. The car becomes permanent. The car becomes common. Car brings youth together. It allowed them to be alone. That's supposed to be alone instead of along. Now think of the music. Everything comes together. Automobiles give us enormous personal freedom. So, of course, that helps speak to a sexual revolution. And, you know, just all kind of freedoms. And then you've got the Beat generation, the pre-hippies. But, you know, we've had hippies forever. Walt Whitman had to be refers to the alienated group of the 1920s, you know, early hippie group. They've always been here. In the 60s, they just took on that persona, and that name was coined. So, we've got a little lesson in history here, a little summation of history. See how it works. What something says about something else, what this says about the bigger picture. What do these TV shows, what can you learn by watching Happy Days? I think I referred to Happy Days in the previous chapter, didn't I? When I mentioned those bomb shelters, And then how something was permanently changed. This use of the television and photographs is going to change politics forever. It's going to bring another factor into the equation. I mean, let's check this out here. Kennedy, everybody knows, he got the looks. And Richard Nixon didn't. So take advantage of it. And they did. Your book makes that point with color versus black and white. Check out their presidential debate. If you listen to it the people who listened to it on the radio only said Nixon won the debate. People who watched it on TV said Kennedy won the debate. Power of TV. Well, when they sent Nixon to the makeup room, he refused to put makeup on. They sent Kennedy to the makeup room, he put makeup on, or they put makeup on him. So under the lights, Nixon wasn't feeling very well that night anyway. So underneath the lights, Nixon's over there sweating and, looking pale and pasty. And Kennedy's over there looking calm, cool, and collected. Taking advantage, using TV, using photographs, using technology. When you got a series of pictures and there's Elvis, you cannot delete it. I don't really see how you can do that. But Elvis was extremely significant, obviously, or his picture wouldn't be there. But, he did push the bounds, but he brings the guitar to the scene. He connects pop music with blues, black music, it was phenomenal. My mom went to a Catholic high school in Little Rock, Mount St. Mary's. Mount St. Mary's had a policy, a rule that they created when Elvis came to town, banning all Mount St. Mary's students from going to the Elvis concert. And I do not know, my mother did not go, but it'd been interesting to see how many did. It might be interesting to see how many of the nuns went, but she did say there was one that might have gone. Oh well. A high school ban on attending a concert. The Second Reconstruction. Got you broke down in 5 categories. Notice I've added freedom rides to sit-ins. Brown versus Board of Education, without question, starts this modern day civil rights movement. 1954, Topeka, Kansas. Why did the Supreme Court rule segregation to be unconstitutional? Not, you know, don't tell me that. Well, I mean, it is important that you know that the Supreme Court gunned down segregation is unconstitutional. But I want to know why. How is that unconstitutional? How is segregation unconstitutional? Well, it was pretty simple. Segregation is inherently unequal. That's what the majority opinion of this verdict states. Segregation is inherently unequal, especially in the field of education. The act of separating is an act of discrimination. The act of separating is an act of discrimination. The damage is done. You can't undo it. You can't make it equal. You can't make it equal. Little Linda Brown asks, why can't I go to that school? Daddy says, because you're black. And what's her response? So, boom, you got it right there. Automatically, that kid has an inferiority feeling about this situation. For some reason, I cannot go there. There's something wrong here. I can't go there. So damage is already done. You cannot make it equal. So separate but equal is a farce. It's all irrelevant. Segregation is inherently unequal, inherently born with, especially in the field of education. Emmett Till. Horror story extraordinaire. Great story, of course, about Mama wanting to make sure the casket was open so everybody could see the damage. Now, do we really have to have two shirtless kids over here in court? I mean, can't they be wearing it? I don't know. Montgomery bus boycott. Why was it a turning point? Of course, I say, you know, it's a huge turning point. How could it not be? And although it did not directly lead to the Supreme Court ending segregation in public transportation, think about what else grew out of the episode. Got a new leader. Got a new strategy. You got a new strategy to be implemented by this new leader. It's going to be a dynamic combination, as everybody knows. There's Miss Rosa. Just the dignity. That's my thought when I look at that picture. Little Rock 9, my hometown. Big Rip just graduated from Central High School the year before. He graduated in June of 57, and this is in September of 57. So he's a freshman at Little Rock University. Now University of Arkansas, Little Rock. crowds added to the sit-ins. These young activists, white and black, getting on these Greyhound buses, or whatever the brand, going from like DC to Dallas, going into these bus depots, insisting that they be served, that the law is being followed, of course creating controversy. How long is it going to take us all to figure out where that bus is going to be stopping next? So the crowds grew. Kennedy ends up sending in the troops to keep the peace. Sit-ins, freedom rides, envisioning the evidence. Very fascinating, very telling. Look at mixed marriages. Miscegenation is the term. Kansas and New Mexico, the only states on the board that do not have some kind of restrictive law. Penal institutions segregated, all of those are in the South, and that is so easily justified. Keeping whites and black prisoners separated. I mean, you talk about murder and mayhem. Segregation in housing. Louisiana, Texas, and Virginia. Big monumental Supreme Court case against segregation in housing early. One of the early NAACP victories came out of Louisville, Kentucky. Just passing on a little trivia. Education being segregated went well beyond the South. You got Wyoming, of course you got Kansas. We know that because Brown versus Board of Education. Interesting about Arizona and New Mexico. Interesting. I don't know. Segregation in employment. That's hardcore. Now you got two inserts of fascination to me. Mississippi, got to have black nurses for black patients. Jeez, oh Pete. And then California, note that their miscegenation laws also are including the Asians with that heavy influx of Asian population in California. And then we shut her down with this lovely picture. Says 1,000 words, doesn't it? Some people there just having them a ball. Nobody doing anything about it. Oh well. Looks like your guy sitting at the bar up here had all that spilled on him. And then you realize that's just his shirt. Looks like that girl that's just grinning right behind it. Wonder if she's like regretting all that today. Of course, our smoker, hell, he's just there to be cool. He just got that. And I wonder what old Harry Chestover's looking at. He looks like he might be looking at. Could be looking at the smoker. I don't know. Anyway, y'all take care. I'll see you next time.